Hi guys, and a very warm welcome to episode 5 of Glory Week, where, as you can see, we are joined today by Alex Epakis. Alex, you're fresh from the training ground, a hot training session this morning, your last session before flying over to New Zealand on Thursday. How are the squad looking?
Yeah, we trained very well today. Obviously we've got a lot of momentum behind us at the moment, and the players are really creating that because they're training very hard. There's a lot of information that they're taking on board, both on and off the field, and yeah, it's a really great environment at the moment.
Good to hear, mate. Now, we brought you to Mr. Chappell's here, just around the corner from the Glory office. As you may or may not know, Glory Week is brought to you in conjunction with the city of Fremantle. A lot of history in this building. It was actually the very first synagogue in WA before it was taken over by Mr. William Beer in 1924, quite an appropriate surname, bearing in mind that it's now a very popular cafe, restaurant and night spot as well. So it then became a commercial building, housed a number of different companies over the years, including my particular favourite, the fantastically named Barry's Rugs. Now, you'd be pleased to hear, Alex, that Barry's Rugs are still with us, obviously not based here anymore. They've moved up to Burragoon and they're now called Barry's Fine Rugs. So they've obviously gone up in the world. Little plug there for Barry's Rugs. If you are looking for some quality flooring, then do get along there. I'm picturing the sort of Grand Bazaar in Istanbul on an industrial estate in Burragoon. That's what I'm looking for, a bit of a fusion there. So that's the history of this place. We thoroughly recommend it. It's a fantastic place to come down to eat and drink, as well as after dark entertainment. So anyway, we're going to have a meandering conversation, Alex, today. I did say that this might just go around a few loops, and we're going to start right back in the very early days. Just paint me a picture of 10-year-old Alex Epakis. Where are you being brought up? What sort of stuff are you into? How's school going? What's the family background? Just give us a whole picture there.
Yeah, well, it's there's a lot to unpack there, but I think the first things that come to mind when I think of that period of time was I was a little rat of a kid. I was very mischievous. I think I created a lot of headaches for my parents and my grandparents at that time, and my brother would have been 2 or 3, so I can imagine between the two of us being an absolute handful around the house. Around that stage in my life, my parents were both really focused on working big hours and doing what they needed to do from a career point, and my grandparents actually played a really active role in my upbringing at that age. They lived with us at the time. Our house was split up with a granny flat at the back, and they were based in there, and my parents and us were at the front of the house. So I do have vivid memories of spending a lot of time with my grandparents in my early life and them playing a big part in that. For me, it was interesting because Greek background. My grandparents were more fluent in Greek than they were in English, so I would say at that period in my life I was actually probably conversing more in Greek, and the English language came a little bit later on when I was more in school day to day. But yeah, I think I had a pretty normal upbringing, and I was just starting to get into a lot of sports at that time as well. It was really important for my dad in particular to have us involved with a lot of community sport. I was doing nippers, I was doing football, I was doing rugby, I was doing cross country, so I was really active with that type of stuff, and I think those learnings and years really painted the picture for the foundations of what my life would be like.
And this was all in Sydney?
All in Sydney, yeah.
Are you a big rugby league fan, aren't you?
Look, when my dad migrated over from Greece, a lot of the migrants moved into Redfern, which is a really big rugby league heartland for South Sydney there in particular. So that was the main sport which my family sort of grew into. But my love for all sports, in particular football, soccer at the time, started to merge because of the kids that I was friends with. So I was really lucky that my parents never put a limit on what sports I could do or should do. They were really open to me doing everything. And I think that multi-sport upbringing has served me really well.
And how did the coaching journey begin? Because you've got a background in education.
Yeah, it was an interesting one for me because during my teenage years I started to move into playing NPL, and then towards the end of school and going into uni I was trying to take my football playing career as serious as I possibly could. But the realisation of not playing professional was real, and I was accepting of that. I wanted to be involved at the highest level, and I knew as a player that was going to be NPL. And while I was studying uni, finishing my degree, I was getting towards 2021, and I thought I need to pivot into coaching because I had a passion for working with people. I had a passion for the game, and I knew that if I wanted to be a serious career coach, giving myself the best chance by starting earlier was something that I had to do. And I also didn't want to dabble in trying to play and coach at the same time. So I made a pretty conscious decision at 2021 just to move all my efforts and focus into being the best coach that I could be. So 21 was the time where I really started to start with the coaching licenses. I started to reach out to local NPL clubs and senior coaches to see if I could spend time with them. And yeah, if you had told me at 21 to where I am today that it would be a career, I wouldn't have believed you.
So you enjoyed great success then, just fast forwarding a little bit at Sydney University. Yep. How did the opportunity to come to Glory come up?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I had just finished on a sort of 4-year tenure at Sydney Uni, and there was something within me as well. I was fortunate to have a lot of success, not down to anything from my end. To be honest, I was very fortunate with the playing group that I had. I had a number of players for a number of years there, which are now in the Matildas, and they really helped the team and the club have a lot of success. And for me, that was my formative years of senior coaching. I got to make some mistakes. I got to learn my style, and I had players around me that knew that I was starting out, and we had really honest, robust conversations about my own coaching, and I was really fortunate to get feedback from them. But it did really shape me, and it also lit the fire that I wanted to take this as far as I could. After my 4 years there, I just felt the time for something new needed to happen. And it just so happened that I got a call from Terry McFlynn, who I'd met a few years prior when I was working at Sydney FC as a youth boys coach. I built a really strong relationship with both Terry and Tony Pinata at that point in time. And yeah, they sort of indicated that there may be an opportunity to come to Perth. And they explained the situation. The coach had recently left, Bobby, and there was a period of unknown because of COVID. They didn't even know if there was going to be an A-League women's team. And then they got the green light very late on in the piece that there was going to be. So they sort of indicated that I'd be walking into a project that was, really decimated because a lot of players didn't know whether to stay or go at the time. So they said, do you want to go through the process? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And unfolded over a few weeks, and then next thing you know it, I'm spending 2 weeks in home quarantine, flying over from Sydney. And I got out a week or two before the season started.
So as you just outlined there, the build-up to the season was shocking. It was in absolute turmoil. We end up not winning a game in what was a very, very difficult and challenging season. Just at a personal level, mate, were there times when, did you have some dark moments there? Were there times when you thought, what on earth have I done here? You're away from your partner, of course. You're over the other side of the country. There's travel restrictions in place. The team can't buy a win. Were there times when you just thought, nah?
Mate, that period of time was really interesting for me. I knew what I was walking into because of the way that the picture was painted by Tony and Terry. And I knew that a lot of players had decided to go to other clubs because of, as I said, the unknown of whether Perth was going to have a team. So I really respected the situation. But coming off the back of my 4 seasons at Sydney Uni, where we only lost 4 or 5 games across 4 or 5 years, to then coming into a season where we didn't win a game, there were moments where I had to just re-establish to myself that, this is the industry. It's not always going to be easy. And I had this feeling that if we could just maintain a level of stability and long-term focus during that period, beyond just what that season was, I knew myself and the players would be much better for that in the long run. And whilst at the time there were moments where, it was hard and harder than, what I would have liked it to have been, I really feel like that was the making of me and the team going forward. And I think that particular couple of months and that season will be extremely defining for me going forward, because there were challenges left, right and centre. It was a bit like the game at the circus where you hit one head and another head pops up and then another one, and I was just running out of arms. I was running out of, we're running out of time as well because the season was a lot shorter. But as I said, all of that learning and the pain that we went through as a group has really set us up for where we are now, and on a personal level I took so much learning away from that.
Did you doubt yourself out at any stage in that season?
I would say what I had to do was just recheck all my beliefs and recheck my processes and make sure that I knew why I was doing what I was doing. And after going through that internal process during the off season, I made tweaks where needed, and we obviously had more time to improve the squad, improve our resources, and all of those contributing factors has allowed for the tide to turn.
Let's talk about leadership a little bit, mate. How would you sort of define yourself as a leader? What are the key planks of your leadership style, would you say?
It's a good question. I don't delve too much into, the science behind it. I think for me, the first thing I try and do is be a person who is a good person. I think that it would be remiss for me to think that I am a perfect leader or a perfect character, but I try and surround myself with good people, and I try and make decisions that I think internally hold with integrity and hold with respect. And I think if I use that as a guiding light, I give myself more chance of making the right decisions, especially in difficult moments. I would say my leadership, I've got some pretty firm beliefs on how I think you can achieve high performance and how a group should interact and the dynamic around that. And I try and model that behaviour as much as I can. And again, I try and bring staff and players that I just feel like fit that mould. But I think the key thing for me is, and I say it to the players and I say it to the staff, if I'm not going to get it right, let's get it right together then. And I think if we're contributing towards collective leadership and collective management, we're going to get closer to being perfect than if it's just me. So, I think to answer your question, I try and look at my leadership and my style of management as a collective approach. And I'm still working through that process as well. Every day I'm trying to be better, and I try and upskill myself as best as I can and expose myself to different situations, and I learn from it each time.
So just expanding on that collective approach, in terms of a week on the training ground, can you just give us an idea of, in terms of planning the sessions, overseeing the sessions, building up to the game, the tactics, assessing the opposition? How does that sort of work out in terms of who does what?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. We've got this season in particular, we've got a real team of staff. In previous seasons, A-League women's staff are normally doubling up in 2 or 3 positions, whereas now we're able to isolate people with their roles and their expertise a lot more, and that's been a big part of this season's success, I believe, so far. But look, we've got an analyst in Prash, and he focuses a lot on clipping up opposition video, clipping up our video, and then as a coaching staff we sit together and we review a lot of those clips, and we review a lot of that with players as well, and we deliver it most mornings to teams in bite-sized information blocks. Then we go out onto the pitch and we put some of that learning that we've seen from the video, either retrospectively from the last match or leading up to the next match. We use the video to form the foundation of what that session will be on the pitch. And that takes a lot of work in design and delivery and processes behind the scenes. But we know that when the moment the players arrive in the morning, they're really going to get exposed to a key chain of learning, a key theme. And yeah, there's a lot of staff who are contributing in certain ways to make sure that is specific, and then it's always on the go and it's always moving. And then look, we meet as a staff every day post-session in the afternoon just to do a medical update for the next day. We do a review of the session that's just gone past and we preview the next day's session. So look, there's a lot of people doing a lot of good things and putting in a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that we can run this operation as best as we can. And then there's also a level of interaction between me and the leaders within the group. So Tash and Millie, we try and meet at the start of every week and just to touch base, and they give me their thoughts on things and I give them my thoughts on things, and it's just a way for me to have a link to the group. And I try and encourage those two in particular to drive certain things internally within the change room and give them space to manage the group and the team how they want to as well. I think it's, for me, I don't want to be involved in everything that the team does. I think that I'm really grateful. I've got two fantastic senior players there with others as well who can really drive the culture.
So you can step back.
And I can step back and focus on the football. But between all of us, we get it right.
Now, philosophy is one of the most overused
Yeah,
words
it
in
is.
football, it has
Yeah.
to be said. How would you sort of define, if you have a specific philosophy, how would you define it, and how much sort of pragmatism is involved in that philosophy? Are you absolutely welded to certain things?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. First and foremost, I coach to win. That's always at the starting point for me. I'm competitive by nature, and I'm a real fighter, I believe, in trying to get results and achieve things, and I really don't stop until I'm there, and I'm relentless. So I try and put a lot of those key things into the teams that I coach and the players that I work with. And I would say that if winning's the starting point, then you need an underlying playing style that brings that winning to life. So what we try and do is, you know, as a coach, you've got an idea of how you want the team to play, and I want it to be a possession-based, fast, aggressive team with and without the ball. I want us to suffocate teams with the ball. I want us to suffocate teams without the ball, and I always want to create goal-scoring opportunities. So I look at the players that we've got, and I look at the style that I want to play, and we always have to find a midpoint between there and be pragmatic between the ideal and the players, you know, profiling. And every day in training and every day in reviews, we try and get closer to the ideal. But, you know, you also have to have a level of creativity where the players can bring certain things to life within the playing style, and I'm comfortable with that. We give a platform, we give a structure, but there's freedom within the structure where players can execute it differently to how I think it might be, but we get similar or if not better outcomes.
So there's scope for them to play what's in front of them, basically.
There has to be. I think I try and avoid prescriptive outcomes. We know what it is we're trying to achieve, and if we practice it well enough, players will see the cues, they'll see the pictures, and they'll execute off their own sort of free will, free thinking, based off that.
So in terms of your role, Al, at Glory, what brings you the most pleasure, and equally, what's the worst aspect of the job?
Look, I think in a position that I'm in, I know that I've got a certain level of responsibility to improve players and improve staff. And I almost look at them as two different teams, but then together we're a collective team. And I've got a duty to both groups. My staff, I try and upskill and give them time and space to really run with their roles and give them scope to try things, to burn their finger on things, to support them, to push them. And again, with the players, the same, you know, we try to evolve them and develop them to grow outside of their comfort zone and find new limits. So for me, the real pleasing thing that I take a lot of pride out of is seeing it all come to life. Whether that be on game day with a great performance, whether that be players being called up for national teams or youth national teams, they're the types of things that are small wins. But I don't sit on it for long enough, to be honest. When something pleases me, it's probably for about 30 seconds, and then I'm thinking about the next one. And even now, you know, with our games, the final whistle might go and we've got the result. And I think until I shake the opposition coach's hand, I'm happy until then. And then after that handshake's done, I'm already thinking about the next game. And that's something I've got to be mindful of as well, to enjoy the moment more. So yeah, they're the things I do really enjoy. And look, in any job, there's going to be aspects where there's things you don't like. I think for me personally, I'm so self-reflective that I always ask myself, could I be doing things better? Did I handle that moment right? Could that conversation have been different? Was that session perfect? And that can really eat at you, especially when you are as obsessed with it as what I am. You know, that idea of winning for me it's addictive. So when I'm looking at everything through the week and when I'm laying in bed and reflecting on things at night, I wish I had a better skill set to be able to switch off a little bit more. And I'm sure with more time that will come. But right now I'm so hungry and motivated to succeed that is just part and parcel of where I am. As you mentioned, I'm here by myself, my family and my partner are back home, so I don't have anyone to balance me out at this point. But yeah, that would probably be a real fair assessment.
But it's a strange, you mentioned you've got that addiction to winning, but it's a strange addiction because you never really get to enjoy that, do you? You're addicted to something, but when you achieve it, you don't really get to enjoy it.
No, and that goes exactly to what I just said. Like, I have to love the moment more and share that glory in that moment for a little bit longer, even if it's just the rest of the night. And then I can start thinking about the next game and the next job the next morning. You know, and I'll get better at that, but it's not there right now. I'm just craving those hits, and then I'm after the next one. And I think we've got really motivated staff and players, and I know that they share that as well. So I'm driven by that, and I feel a lot of responsibility in helping them achieve that. And that's probably why I'm really focused on it each day.
Well, I can vouch for the way that you are, because I often speak to you after games, even when we've had a good win. And even though we're having a conversation, you're not really there.
No.
You're not really
no,
there.
Sorry, I'm not.
I can almost hear the brain ticking, and we're already on to next week, and maybe even the week after.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
In terms of media, Alex, how do you find media commitments, interviews, so on?
Look, I mean, to be honest, we've had a good relationship the last 4 years, and I think that I still remember our first interview very vividly. I got out of home quarantine and I came straight to the club, and we did our first interview in the club shop downstairs at the old HQ. And I think that experience and the warmth that you worked with me and allowed me to communicate in that first instance to even up until now, like, that was really important for me. I think that professional media experience isn't something that I had coming into this role, but I did have a lot of public speaking experience when I was at school, a lot of debating experience when I was in school, and I've never found dealing with media or talking to large groups as something that have bothered me. I don't sort of shy away from that. I know when I've got firm beliefs and I've got ideas, I love having the opportunity to express what they are, whether that be an intimate setting or a big setting. I enjoy it, and I give people an opportunity to hear what I'm about, and same with the team when we're sort of explaining what it is we're going to do. I get excited about having the opportunity to communicate that. So look, I think that whilst I'm always looking to be better in that aspect as well, it's something that I'm comfortable in.
And just finally, mate, away from football, for example, a big flight that you've got coming up tomorrow, heading over to New Zealand, tell me that you're not going to spend the entire flight watching either clips of Wellington or clips of ourselves. Tell me that you're going to be, I don't know, reading some Russian literature or watching some obscure Chinese film.
No, I do. I will watch. I've loaded up the iPad for tomorrow. I've got a couple of shows that I'm watching, which I'm enjoying.
Oh yeah, which ones?
So there's one on Disney called The Bear, which is about this chef who's taken over his brother's restaurant. And it's a little bit like probably the football industry. You just see what it's like in a kitchen, and it's intense, and there's shit happening all the time. And I can resonate with it because, again, like you deal with one thing and then the next thing you know, something else is coming up. And as the head chef in a restaurant and you're working in a really hot, humid sort of workplace, I'm really relating to it on a weird level. So I'm enjoying that. And look, I do some reading as well, and I do some podcasts. A lot of them are management and leadership based because I find it applicable, whether that be sport or not. I take equal value out of everything. But yeah, look, I try and use that time just to switch off a little bit. I don't want the players as well to see me for 15 hours on a screen just watching clips of them. I think that would be a bit unnerving.
Yeah, it would.
So I try and just be as normal as I can be on these trips.
And we've seen you, well, we haven't seen you, but we know that you've played a bit of indoor football the last couple of years, just intermittently making sort of little cameo appearances. Are we dusting off the indoor boots again this year?
Adzi, Sam and I have been playing a lot of sports at the moment. We're actually really getting into padel, which is a smaller version of tennis, mixed with like squash and table tennis all together. So we're hitting the courts once a week doing that, which we're really enjoying, and it's a big sport in Europe, and I can see why. It's quite enjoyable and it's fun. So yeah, I keep myself occupied with that, and look, other than just trying to do a little bit of general exercise as well, that's my thing. I try and do something each day. I think that's important as well, because if you're too focused on work and not looking after yourself, I found that you just feel a lot more lethargic.
Right, mate, well, thank you very much for that insight. We look forward to hearing how the indoor cricket goes over in New Zealand, because presumably you have a little bit of time when you're over there. You go in, quite early and get yourselves involved in that. So that game against Wellington Phoenix at Go Media Stadium in Auckland, that kicks off at 2:15 Western time. That is on Saturday. You can watch that one live and free on 10 Play. And then on the Sunday, the men, of course, Suncorp Stadium. It's been a while since we played there. Actually, I think it's about 4 years since we last played at Brisbane Roar's traditional home. That one is kicking off at 12 o'clock midday. And then in terms of home games, the next one for the men is against Melbourne City on Friday, the 8th of December, and tickets for that one are currently on sale via Ticketmaster. But that is it for today. Thanks very much, Alex, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much as well to the City of Fremantle for their support of Glory Week, and we will catch you again next time.